The fork slipped from my fingers and struck the rim of my plate like a tiny bell, and everybody stopped pretending we were a happy family. To the mother-in-law who always pays but will never be a real mom, Jasmine said, chin lifted, flute of Prosecco glittering under the chandelier. She smiled without warmth. The fizz hissed. The ceiling fan clicked. Somewhere under the table, the dog thumped its tail, confused by the silence that followed. I felt the heat climb my throat the way summer does in Georgia, slow at first, then all at once. I set my napkin down, smoothed the edge, and made my face quiet. Mac and cheese breathed butter and cheddar into the air. Brown sugar, yams, and nutmeg wrapped around the room like a memory that didn't belong to me anymore. The radio in the kitchen hummed soft jazz, then faded to commercials about car insurance and back-to-school sales. I could hear Ava's glittery art project on the fridge vibrating with the air conditioning turning on. The tiniest shiver of paper against magnet. "Jazz," Marcus said gently, warning in his voice. He didn't meet my eyes. "Come on." "It's a joke," Jasmine said, not joking. She knows I kid. I raised my glass. My hand didn't shake. My silver bangles clinked, 2 soft notes I have learned to hear as a metronome for hard choices. "A toast then," I said, "to telling the truth." They all watched me. Ava's elbows hovered over her plate like a bird about to land. Caleb had a smear of ketchup on his cheek. He was whispering numbers to himself, counting carrot sticks the way he does when he's trying to be brave. "Grandma," he said, small. "Eat, baby," I told him, and I smiled because you can smile and still be done. The truth sat heavy in my purse, wrapped in a long white envelope, breathing like an animal. I had thought about waiting. "You'll want witnesses," Pastor Elaine's voice had said in my head. "You'll want calm." But here they were, all of them. Calm didn't live in this house anymore. "Lorraine," Jasmine said brightly, tilting her glass, "you going to bless the food or bless our ears?" I placed my fork across the plate, the silver kissing ceramic. I stood. My chair legs squealed against the hardwood. The dog thumped again, hopeful for a dropped biscuit. I reached into my purse. The leather was warm from my hip and the heat of the room, and the smell of it, lemons from the oil I rub into it, floated up and steadied me. The key was small and ordinary, brass worn pale at the teeth. The kind of key you don't notice until it isn't yours anymore. I set it in the middle of the tablecloth, a quiet coin of decision. Beside it, the folded note with Marcus's name. I did not look at Jasmine. "What is this?" Marcus asked. He didn't touch it. "Open it," I said. He wiped his fingers on his napkin like the paper might stain him, then slid his thumb under the crease. His wedding ring made a soft rasp against the fiber. He read the first line and the color went right out of his face, as if he'd stepped outside in January with wet hair. "Mom," he said, voice thin, "tell me you didn't do this." Ava looked from him to me, a storm cloud of worry gathering on her little forehead. "Daddy." "Eat," I repeated softly. "It's grown folk talk." Jasmine reached for the paper. Marcus held it away for a second, reflex from childhood, and then let it go. Her eyes flew over the words, faster and faster, until she looked up at me with that laugh she saves for when she's wounded and wants to slice. "You can't be serious," she said. "This is spite." "Spite is what you pour at dinner," I said. "This is a boundary." "Boundary?" She scoffed. "Lorraine, you've always said this house was family. You've said." "I said a lot of things when I believed they mattered to you," I answered steady. "Keys and receipts, Jasmine. My voice has both." The radio clicked back to jazz. A saxophone stretched a note like warm caramel. My bangles chimed again when I reached for my water glass. My hand still didn't shake. Marcus swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing hard. "How long have you?" he began. "Long enough to know I won't be talked out of it," I said, "because history is one thing and today is another. Because my husband taught me before he died that peace isn't free. And I have paid every bill in this house a dozen times over." Caleb dropped a carrot stick. The dog dove for it, nails scrabbling, a ridiculous grace that made something painful move in my chest. "The world does keep going. It will go right over you if you don't step out of the way." Jasmine put the paper on the table like it was burning her. "You can't sell what isn't." "Stop," I said, and she did, because my voice went lower than hers could reach. "We are not going to pretend I am the villain because I stopped being your bank. We are not going to pretend this roof raised itself. We are not going to pretend my name is not on the paper where names matter. She stared at me, mouth open. She was beautiful when she was angry, I have always thought, a beauty sharpened like a knife. I felt tired suddenly, at how many times I had admired something that cut me. Marcus finally looked at me. Really looked. Not just the mama who shows up. The mama who brings groceries and picks up prescriptions and sits in school parking lots with the engine running and the radio low. He looked at me like a person. And it made me want to leave the room and cry in the laundry closet where no one would hear. I didn't. I stood like a pine and kept my face quiet. What does this mean? He asked, voice steadying himself against the table. What happens now? Dinner, I said first, because there were children, because you don't let a fire eat the whole evening if you can help it. Ava, pass me a little rice, baby. She obeyed with great seriousness, as if the spoon were a baton in an orchestra. After dinner, I continued, we will talk like people who expect to wake up tomorrow with the same names. But understand this. The key is not a threat. It is a fact. Jasmine laughed again. You don't have the stomach, Lorraine. You never do. You say things. Then you write checks. I let the laugh slide past me. There are some things you can only hear if you believe them, and I don't believe her anymore. A glass sweated on the table and left a ring. I took a napkin and set it underneath like I have done 1,000 times. Small caretaking I couldn't help. My hands know how to keep things from staining, even when they're already ruined. Marcus rubbed his forehead. Why didn't you tell me before tonight? Because I needed to say it once, I said. And I needed you to listen once. If I had warned you, we would have argued in 5 rooms for 5 weeks. And nothing would be different. This way it is different. Ava's foot tapped against her chair leg, 1212, beating a little drum of worry. I reached across and touched her wrist. Grandma loves you, I said. That isn't changing. She nodded, a solemn little soldier. Jasmine pushed her chair back. The scrape was a scream. You think you can do this to us and I'm going to sit here and eat your food? I think you are going to do what you always do, I said. Decide what kind of woman you are. She stared at me, and for a flicker of a second I saw the girl she used to be before the sharpness, the one who cried in my kitchen when the first baby wouldn't sleep, the one who borrowed my church hat and laughed at herself in the mirror. It hurt. Memory is a soft thing that slices you open slow. She grabbed her purse. The dog flinched. The children watched her with big eyes, their faces like small moons turning. Marcus reached out a hand he didn't use to stop her. Jazz, he said. Wait. She didn't. The front door opened and the humid night pressed its face in. Cicadas sang like electricity. The door shut. The sound went through the house like a tremor. We sat with it. We chewed. We drank water. The radio found another saxophone and tried to make the room forgiving. Time rearranged itself by inches. Marcus folded the paper again, very carefully along the same line. Like maybe if he did it neatly enough, the words would soften. Mom, he said, not looking at me. What exactly is the plan? I looked at my son, at the boy who used to crawl into our bed after nightmares and curl against my chest, at the man who had let his wife speak for him so long he had forgotten the weight of his own voice. I thought of my bangles, the cool touch of them on my wrist, the way they have marked every decision I ever made for this family with their small silver chime. The plan, I said, and my voice felt like standing barefoot on solid ground after weeks of rain, is that we will finish this meal. You will put the children to bed. And then you will read that note all the way through, Marcus. He swallowed. And after that? I reached out and slid the key back toward me an inch, just enough to prove it belonged where I put it. The brass flashed once beneath the chandelier, bright as a promise or a warning, depending on who you are. After that, I said, we will see who knows how to listen. The fan clicked. The dog sighed. Outside, a car door slammed somewhere down the block, sharp as a gavel. And for a heartbeat, everything in the house leaned forward, waiting for what would follow. The phone lit up at 6:42 a.m. with a text that read, "You are evil." Then the second one, "Return my calls or I'll make you regret this." I lay there a moment, listening to the train horn floating in from the tracks beyond the trees, the slow roll of steel like someone dragging a zipper across the sky. My apartment smelled like lemon oil from last night's wipe down and the dark roast I'd set on a timer. I reached for my bangles on the nightstand and slid them on. The cold kiss of metal steadied me. I brewed a fresh cup and opened my laptop at the wobbly pine table I bought from the church rummage sale. The screen's glow turned my palms pale. I pulled up the bank dashboard. The list of autodrafts I had created over the years without thinking, little dams I'd built to keep their river from flooding. My index finger hovered, felt the old tremor want to start, and didn't let it. Cancel HO. Confirm. Cancel lawn service. Confirm. Cancel after-school soccer dues. Confirm. Cancel the emergency card I let them use just in case. Freeze. Every click made a tiny sound like a fingernail tapping a tooth. The coffee was bitter and good. The fridge hummed like a tired man clearing his throat. I could hear the upstairs neighbor's shower start, the water thudding the pipes, a single steady heartbeat above me. My phone rang. Unknown number, local. Vendor. I could hear the cold as soon as I answered. Is this Lorraine Parker? It is. This is Pete at Fresh Farm Produce. We've got an invoice for Jazz Kitchen marked past due 30 days. We were told you handle that account. I don't, I said, then softened it because the man sounded like he'd been up since 3. Not anymore. So we hold the delivery? You do what your books need, I said. Keys and receipts, Mr. Pete. He exhaled through his teeth. She said you'd take care of it like always. She was mistaken. Silence. Then the tone of a man who understands numbers better than stories. Got it. Good luck to all of us. We hung up. The quiet after a call like that feels like somebody left a door open. I closed the laptop for a minute and just breathed. If I let my mind run, it would replay last night on a loop until my bones rang. So I did the next thing in front of me. I took a yellow legal pad from the drawer and wrote 3 columns. What I pay, what I don't, what I will consider. I dated it, drew a neat box around the title like a teacher. My handwriting looked like my mother's, round, stubborn letters that lined up like little soldiers. At 8:12, Sonia from the bank called. Miss Parker, I've got the tenant occupancy question answered for you. Your buyer's lender won't close with occupants in possession. I figured, I said, but it stung anyway, the way truth sometimes does even when you ordered it. And the proceeds, can they go straight into the trust account number we discussed? Absolutely. I've got that routing ending in 2741. Correct. That's right. Okay. I'll email updated instructions by 11. Anything else on your mind? My bangles sang once when I scratched my temple. No. That's plenty for this morning. I hung up and set a timer on my stove. 15 minutes to cry if it came, then move. That's one of the ways I keep from drowning. I give sorrow a clock. The tears didn't come. Instead, anger did, slow and clean. I poured it into tasks. I called Mr. Weller, my agent. He sounded chipper, probably already in a blazer and a pocket square I would never understand. Lorraine. Walkthrough went smooth yesterday. Your place shows like a magazine. It showed like a life I paid for, I said. He cleared his throat. Salesmen don't know what to do with grief unless it's staged. Buyer's attorney reiterated that vacant possession clause, he said, businesslike. We'll need them out before closing. 2 weeks. You have any arrangements in process? I have a pen and a backbone, I said. I'm working on the rest. Understood, he said. And I like that he didn't fuss at me with suggestions I didn't ask for. Call me if you need me to recommend movers. After we hung up, I opened a fresh document on the laptop and drafted a note to the grandkids. I kept it simple. I love you. I am not leaving you. Grown-ups have to fix grown-up problems. Then I recorded it into my phone because their ears understand my voice better than my handwriting. Ava, Caleb, I said softly. Grandma is changing where the money sleeps, not where the love lives. At 9:03, Jasmine called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, then again, and finally she texted. The vendor says you refused. Payroll is Friday. This is abuse. I typed, then erased, then typed boundaries are not abuse. Meet me at Pastor Elaine's office at noon if you want solutions. No more yelling. No more midnight requests. Paper only. 3 dots bubbled. Stopped. Bubbled again. Nothing. I dressed for the day like it mattered. Pressed navy slacks, white blouse, a thin gold chain that used to be my mother's. The apartment's mirror is small and a little fogged at the edges, the way time fogs the corners of everything. I dabbed shea butter on my elbows and smelled cocoa in childhood kitchens. I tucked the folder marked keys and receipts into my leather bag and left. Outside, the air was already wet, the kind of Atlanta heat that makes your thoughts slow and your temper quick. Cicadas were gossiping in the trees. I drove with the windows cracked so the old piney smell of my complex could ride along. The traffic on Memorial was rude. The stoplights took their time like they were being paid by the minute. On the way, I swung by the storefront Jasmine rents for her catering, a narrow space tucked in a strip with a nail salon and a vape shop and a tax place that's open year-round for some reason. The glass looked tired. A man in a faded Falcon's cap was taping something to the door. Yellow paper. My gut went cold and small. "Excuse me," I said, stepping out. "What's that?" "Notice," he said. "Health permit lapsed. She's got to renew and pass inspection before she opens the kitchen again. It's standard." "How long?" He shrugged. "Depends if the fees get paid and the violations fixed. Could be quick. Could be not." The paper fluttered under his hand. My bangles whispered. Inside, I could see the stainless steel counters Jasmine loved to polish until she could check her lipstick in them. There was a cake stand on the back table, empty and shining like a promise that forgot itself. I texted Jasmine a photo so she wouldn't hear it third hand. Yellow notice posted. "You'll need to call them. I will not pay the fee. Meet me at noon." She responded right away this time. "You did this." I stood on the hot sidewalk until the sun painted sweat under my hairline and answered. "I didn't post the notice. I just stopped hiding the cracks." Noon. Pastor Elaine's office is in the back of the church, down a hall that always smells faintly of hymnals and Murphy oil soap. The carpet gives under your feet like a polite old friend. Her door was open. She wore a lavender dress and reading glasses on a chain. She looked me over and saw all of it without me saying a word. "You ready to be the grown-up in a room full of grown-ups?" she asked, the way only a woman who has known me 30 years can ask. "I'm ready to be the only grown-up if I have to," I said. "But I hope I don't have to." She nodded at the folder I was hugging like a child. "Got your papers?" "Keys and receipts," I said. The words tasted like iron and relief. We prayed. Not long, not performative. Just enough to let my shoulders drop and my jaw unclamp. When Jasmine swept in late, loud perfume first, she didn't sit. She leaned on the doorframe and glared at me as if the heat was my idea. "I'm here," she announced. "But I'm not staying long if this is just Lorraine's performance of martyrdom." Pastor Elaine didn't flinch. "We're here for clarity," she said. "No name-calling. No loud voices. The children are not present, but their ears exist in our decisions." "Understood." Jasmine rolled her eyes but stepped in. She did not meet mine. "I saw the notice," I said quietly. "I did not cause it. I will not cover it. I will, however, hear a plan that has math and dates and your signature." "Math?" Jasmine laughed, mean and lovely. "You want to do math after you pulled the rug?" "I want to do math because we've all been doing feelings for years and look where that got us," I said. "Show me numbers or show me the door." She opened her mouth, shut it, opened it again. "Payroll is Friday," she repeated, as if her echo could change the calendar. "I imagine it will be Friday again next week too," I said. "What's your plan then?" She swore under her breath. "You could fix this in one call." "I did fix it," I said. "I fixed my part." Pastor Elaine slid a box of tissues across the desk like a croupier. No one took one. We sat with the weight of our choices. Jasmine's phone buzzed on the desk. She glanced at it, then cursed again, louder. "Vendors holding delivery. I told him you handle the account." "I told him the truth," I said. He recognized the sound of it. Her eyes glittered. "You're proud of this." "I'm tired of being the only adult in a room full of birthdays," I said. "I'm not proud. I'm done." For a fraction of a second, a tremble moved across her face like wind across water. Then it was gone. "You think the world will pat you on the back for abandoning your family? The world will not be there when the lights get cut," I said. "And neither will I." She grabbed her purse and scraped back the chair. "We're finished." "Not yet," I said, and laid 2 documents on the desk. A list of subsidized 2-bedrooms near the kids' school with rents circled in red, and a blank page that said agreement at the top. "You want help with a deposit, you sign a budget and a boundary. Respect in front of my grandchildren." No late-night demands. Monthly accounting for the business until it can breathe on its own. Her laugh came out like a cough. You're not my mother. No, I said. And I'm not your wallet either. She stormed out. The door clicked like a gun being put away. Pastor Elaine exhaled into the room we two women still occupied. My bangles chimed once, small and bright, like a bell that says there's still church even when the sanctuary is empty. I left with the folder hugged to my ribs. Outside, the heat pressed both palms to my cheeks. Across the parking lot, a boy on a scooter hurtled into the sun like a shot prayer. My phone buzzed. A photo message from Ms. Ruth across the street from their house. A rectangle of paper was taped dead center on the front door, flapping once in the breeze. I tapped to open it and the image bloomed. I couldn't read the words from the angle, but I recognized the shape and the tape and the way trouble announces itself in duplicate. By sundown, one yellow page wasn't going to be the only notice in our lives. The tape screamed when he smoothed it over the wood, one long rip that drew the whole street's attention. I stood on the porch with my palms open, the afternoon heat slicking the back of my neck. The paper lay flat against the door like a hand over a mouth. Ma'am, the process server said, polite as a funeral usher. I'm posting notice. 30 days. I can read, I said, though my eyes kept sliding to the edges. The fresh staples glinting, the clean black type that didn't care who we were. He nodded once, took a photo for his records, and left with the quick walk of a man who knows not to linger in family weather. The cicadas hummed like power lines. Ms. Ruth across the way rearranged a potted fern and pretended not to watch. The door opened from the inside so fast the paper snapped. Jasmine yanked it off and crushed it in her fist. Her perfume hit first, sweet and sharp. What is this, Lorraine? A fact, I said. Don't tear it. I'll need a picture. I held out my hand. She let the paper fall to the floor like a shed skin. Marcus hovered behind her, pale and blinking. The kids peeked from the stairs, eyes big and shiny as marbles. I pulled my phone and took a photo. My bangles chimed against the case. A small bell that said stay steady. You called them, Jasmine hissed. I didn't call anybody, I said. The calendar did. Don't talk in riddles to me. I'm not, I said. I'm talking in dates. Marcus rubbed his forehead. Jazz, can we just? Absolutely not. She stepped onto the porch so close I could see the clump in her mascara. You think you can embarrass me? Health department out front? Friends seeing yellow on my door? This is war. I looked at her and saw how young fury makes a woman. How it shaves off the years and replaces them with something raw. It's accountability, I said. If you want peace, it costs. If you want a plan, I brought one. Of course you did, she said, laugh like glass. Here comes Lorraine with her clipboards and her bullets and her plans nobody asked for. I opened my bag and set 2 papers on the porch rail. A list of rentals with rents circled in red, and a 1-page agreement with 3 sentences and spaces for names. The wind lifted the corner of the top sheet and dropped it again, like the paper was breathing. 2-bedroom, I said, showing her the one on Magnolia with sunlight in the listing photos and a short drive to school. First month and deposit already on hold if you sign this. Marcus stepped forward before she could swat. Let me see. Jasmine slapped his hand without looking at him. Don't you dare take her bait. It's not bait, I said. It's a bridge. You sign, you get over. You don't, you swim. What's the trap? Jasmine sniffed. No trap, I said. Just boundaries. A budget on paper you follow. No midnight money demands. Counseling. Respect in front of my grandchildren. I met her eyes. And a note for the loans. You pay back what you promised. Slowly. Kindly. Without interest for a while because I am not a bank, I am a woman. But there is a number, and it has your name. She rolled her eyes to the sky so hard I thought they might stick. You love paperwork, don't you? Paper makes you feel taller. Paper makes people honest when memory gets creative, I said. Keys and receipts. Stop saying that. Her voice cracked. Stop acting like you're better. I'm not better, I said. I'm tired. Caleb sneezed. The dog bumped the screen with its nose. Ava stood very still with her hand on the banister like a person holding her place in 2 worlds. Marcus took a breath that shuddered. Mama, what if we take the place on Magnolia? He said it carefully, as if the words might punch him in the teeth. Jasmine turned on him with the bright speed of a match. What? It's close to the school, he said, staring at the rental sheet instead of her fury. It buys us time. We can. You would let her humiliate us like this? She said. You would move your children into some cheap apartment because your mother wants to play God? I want to stop the bleeding, he said. That's all. We're not moving. She pointed at me like a judge. You don't get to evict your family. That's the part that's breaking you, I said gently. Believing this is about your feelings when it's about a deed and a date. Go on refusing a plan, the law won't care. The buyer won't care. The lender won't care. The only people who will care are those children and me, standing here with my hands open. Choose, Jasmine. Choose now or by Monday. She laughed again, the kind of laugh that says I would rather burn this down than let you see me bend. I'll choose. I choose no. She crumpled the rental list, threw it, and it fluttered pitifully. Paper refuses to make drama of itself the way we do. Down the block, a loud engine juiced the air. A Dodge Charger with a paint job that screamed attention rolled to the curb. Mr. Calhoun stepped out like a stage cue, broad shoulders, new sneakers, the kind of jaw that does all its thinking with muscles. He took us in with one sweep. You, he said to me. We got a problem? We have a notice, I said. Not a problem if we handle it like grown folk. He smirked. Grown folk don't put family on the street. Grown folk don't use family like a credit card, I said. Here we are anyway. Jasmine slid to his side like a plant finding the closest sun. She's throwing us out, she said, voice going small and sweet the way some women pitch to men with fists. She posted on our door. The court posted, I said. Would you like a copy? He stepped closer, too close, breath, heat and cologne. Lady, he said, you do not want my sister out here looking foolish. Then help her look responsible, I said. There's the path. I tapped the paper on the rail with my fingernail. A place to land. Plan to pay. A promise about how we talk in front of children. You got another plan? I am listening. He stared, considering whether intimidation solves math. It never has. Marcus watched him the way a man watches a storm cloud that doesn't know his roof is old. Sign it, Marcus said, voice shaking with a courage he was borrowing from somewhere deep. Jazz, please. For the kids. She looked from the paper to his face as if both were written in languages she used to know. You're choosing her over me. I'm choosing rent paid and asthma medicine and a door that locks, he said. I'm choosing not to lie to our children about what money is. I'm choosing peace. Peace, she spat like the syllable tasted rancid. You want peace? Go live with her. Don't, I said quickly, before he could say yes from pure exhaustion. This is your marriage. I am not a bed you crawl back into when your own is cold. Mr. Calhoun blew out a breath big enough to stir the papers on the rail. This is stupid, he declared. We're not signing anything. You can keep your little rules. And you can keep the consequences that come with them, I said. Monday at noon I file for dispossessory if you haven't chosen the bridge. That's not threat. That's calendar. He snorted and turned away. Shoes new enough to creak. Jasmine followed, then turned back, eyes glossy. You'll be sorry, she said. It sounded like a wish she was making out loud. I've been sorry for years, I said. I'm done with that. The kids had disappeared from the stairs, thank God. But I could hear Ava's careful footsteps upstairs like she was practicing being invisible. The sun slid lower. The smell of somebody's charcoal starter drifted from 2 houses over. Sharp chemical sweetness that sits in your throat. Ms. Ruth lifted her fern and set it down again as if that were the work of her life. Marcus didn't move. He looked at the agreement like men look at maps when there's more than one ugly road. What happens if she never signs? Then you do, I said. And you make a smaller move and a bigger promise. You show your children what backbone looks like. He nodded, slow as if the motion hurt. Mama, I should have protected you sooner. I could feel the apology trying to crawl into my chest and make a nest. I wouldn't let it. Protect them now, I said. That'll protect me fine. From the Charger a car door slammed hard, deliberate. The sound ricocheted down the street and into the soft parts of the day. Mr. Calhoun revved the engine just to be loud and wrong and alive. Jasmine's profile through the windshield was a cutout of pride. "We'll be at Pastor's tomorrow," Marcus said, more to himself than me. "If she doesn't come, I'll sign." "You'll read it twice," I said. "Then you'll sign." The porch boards gave a little under my feet, a reminder that what holds memory and weight long after people do. I picked up the papers, smoothed them back to neat, slid them into my bag. My bangles tapped once against the zipper. Not victory, not yet. Just counting. "Go put your children to bed," I said. "Tell them stories where love is steady and adults don't lie." He closed his eyes. "Yes, ma'am." As I stepped off the porch, the heat hit me full in the face and the sky did that Atlanta trick where it goes from gold to bruised in a blink. A wind lifted, sudden, and sent a shiver through the oak leaves. On the doorknob behind me, the last strip of tape the notice had left behind fluttered like a flag that couldn't decide whom it belonged to. My phone buzzed. A text lit up from an unknown number with a photo attached. My signature, copied and pasted onto a document I'd never seen. And for a heartbeat, the air went thinner. I slapped the printed screenshot on the folding table so hard the metal legs shivered. That is not my signature. The church fellowship hall smelled like percolated coffee and Murphy oil soap. Fluorescent lights hummed. Folding chairs scraped. Pastor Elaine lifted the paper by its corner like it might bite. My name, sat at the bottom of a loan guarantee I had never seen. The swoop of the L almost perfect, like a forgery that studied me after bedtime. "Lord," she murmured, eyes narrowing behind her glasses on a chain. "Who sent this to you?" "Unknown number," I said, my bangles chiming like a warning bell. "No words. Just this." The door burst open and Jasmine swept in on a gust of too sweet perfume. Phone in her hand like a weapon. Mr. Calhoun stalked behind her, shoulders first, jaw set. Marcus eased in last, carrying 2 styrofoam cups that steamed in his trembling hands. "What's this now?" Jasmine asked, already annoyed about whatever it would be. Her heels clicked a verdict across the linoleum. I slid the paper toward her. "Maybe you can tell me." She took a quick glance, then laughed that glass-litter laugh. "So? It's your name." "It is my forged name," I said. Pastor Elaine tapped the margin with a pink nail. "Dated 2 months ago," she said. "A business lender." She met Jasmine's eyes. "Did you authorize this?" Jasmine threw up her hands. "I don't handle the paperwork, Marcus does. Ask him." Marcus flinched like the slap had landed. The cups wobbled. Hot coffee sloshed onto his fingers. He didn't react, just set both cups down and stared at the page as if staring could unwrite ink. He swallowed. "Jazz said we just needed her to look at a line of credit. I don't know where this came from." Mr. Calhoun snorted, big and theatrical. "Lady, nobody's forging your name for fun." "No," I said, calm as a lake that drowns boats. "They did it for cash." The gym floor felt tacky under my soles, summer humidity glued to its wax. Somewhere in the hall a child laughed and then the sound cut off like a radio turned down. Somebody remembered grown folks were meeting. Pastor Elaine lifted a hand. "Breathe," she said. "We are not here to put on a show. We are here to tell the truth and decide the next right step." Jasmine rolled her eyes. "The next right step is Lorraine stops acting like a prosecutor and pays the health fee so I can reopen. Unless she likes killing family businesses. She likes keeping her name hers," I said. "That's all." Her phone buzzed. She glanced, frowned. "Great," she said, voice bright with anger. "The Kings canceled Saturday's order. That's 120 guests. Happy now." I thought of the stainless steel counters, the empty cake stand catching light. Sorrow pricked pin sharp then passed. "I am not happy," I said. "I am finished." Pastor Elaine pointed to the 2 stacks on the table. One labeled options in my neat handwriting, the other, agreement, 1 page with 3 promises. "We do this clean," she said. "Lorraine, state your offer out loud so there is no confusion." I smoothed the paper. "First month and deposit on a 2-bedroom near the school, already set aside. You sign a written budget and keep to it. You and Marcus attend counseling. Respect around my grandchildren. And a promissory note for the amount you owe, no interest this year. Pay what you can consistently on the same day every month. That is my bridge." Jasmine laughed, softer this time but with more knives. "A bridge to where?" "To her owning our lives." A bridge away from drowning, Marcus said, voice small but there. He looked at me like a man who had remembered where his mother's face lived. Baby, he told Jasmine, we need something we can stand on. She spun on him, the perfume of fury hot in the air. You will not make me bow to your mother in a church. I will make you face numbers anywhere they can be faced, he said, surprising himself. I'm tired, Jazz. Mr. Calhoun cracked his knuckles. This is ridiculous. He planted both hands on the table and leaned into my ear. Tell you what. We'll move when you pay 6 months' rent somewhere decent. New furniture. And clear that vendor bill you just messed up. Keys and receipts, I said quietly. Not ransom. He smirked. Then we don't sign nothing. Pastor Elaine slid a box of tissues across the table with a practice flick. No deal-making by threat, she said. This isn't a street corner. This is a sanctuary and a conference room and a line in the sand. We will choose our words like grown folk. Jasmine paced, every step a punctuation mark. She stopped, hands on the back of a chair, the tendons at her wrists jumping. You always need control, she told me, voice shaking. You always need to be the hero. I could have said a lot. I said the plainest thing. I need to stop surviving your decisions. That landed. She flinched. Then she covered it with a laugh. You're melodramatic. The fellowship hall door creaked again, and Deacon Harold leaned in, white dress shirt clean as a creed. I can wait outside, he said. But Pastor asked me to witness if signatures happen. Y'all just holler. Thank you, Pastor Elaine said. Stay close. We sat with the air conditioner humming like an old hymnal. Let me see the agreement, Marcus said. His hands finally stopped shaking. He read each line aloud, steady like a man climbing a ladder slowly, checking each rung before putting his weight on it. I can sign this, he said. No, Jasmine said immediately. Absolutely not. It's a trap. It is a plan, I said. The only trap I know is denial. She looked at me then, really looked, and for a blink I saw the exhausted girl who once cried in my kitchen about bills and babies and sleep that wouldn't come. It tugged something soft in me. I hated that it did. My bangles touched and chimed, 2 bright notes, reminding me the past is not a contract. Fine, she said, brittle. You want signatures? Give me a pen. I handed her my favorite pen, the one with the smooth blue ink. She pivoted to Mr. Calhoun. Take a picture, she ordered. Make sure we have proof of this manipulation. He lifted his phone. I kept my face calm. Proof is proof. Even of the wrong thing. She set the pen down without signing and smiled, syrupy. On second thought, we're not begging for help. We're not taking crumbs. You're not taking bread, I said. You're taking instructions. Same thing from where I stand, she said. The room went quiet enough to hear the coffee pot gutter. Outside, somebody started a lawnmower, the rip and whine sliding under the door. Marcus put his palms flat on the table and closed his eyes. Jazz, he said, and when he opened them, his gaze was clear. I'm signing. Her head snapped toward him. You do, and you sleep elsewhere. Then I'll sleep elsewhere, he said, voice gentle. I won't let our children learn chaos as a first language. Traitor, she whispered. Father, he answered. He took the pen. He signed Marcus Daniel Parker on the line beside budget and boundaries. His hand didn't shake. I watched the ink dry, a shine turning matte. Deacon Harold stepped in, solemn as a notary, and initialed the witness space. Jasmine stared at the paper like it had killed a friend. You're pathetic, she told him. You and your mother deserve each other. Maybe we do, he said. Maybe we deserve peace. She snatched her purse and stormed for the door. Mr. Calhoun stayed, holding his phone up like a shield. We're not leaving that house, he said, smile wide and wrong. Good luck, church lady. Monday noon, I said. The courthouse opens at 8. He chuckled and followed Jasmine into the hallway, shoes squeaking their own commentary. I let my shoulders drop. The room felt bigger without their noise. Pastor Elaine squeezed my hand once, hard enough to anchor me where I Saturday boundary is not betrayal, she said. It's the border where love stays safe. Marcus laughed, a single crack of sound that might have been a sob trying to be brave. Mama, he said. I thank you. He looked like a boy and a man at the same time, wrecked and determined. I'll take the Magnolia Place. I'll bring the kids by after school to see it. If Jazz doesn't come, I'll handle the move with Deacon and the fellas. You'll read the lease twice, I said. You'll take photos when you move in. You'll put Ava's inhaler copay on autopay before you hang a curtain. He nodded like each sentence was a rung. Yes, ma'am. We gathered the papers into neat stacks. My bangles chimed when I zipped the folder. Outside, the lawnmower cut off. Quiet dropped like a clean sheet. On our way to the parking lot, the church hallway gave off that soft, soapy smell it always does. Children's art lined the bulletin board. Handprint turkeys, crooked suns, a crayon cross with Jesus loves me in letters too big for the line. I touched the edge of the cross with one finger. Keep us, I whispered, not even sure who I was asking. At the curb, the heat leaned its whole body on us. Marcus hugged me like a son who had remembered how. I'll text you by noon Monday, he said. If she doesn't sign by then, file it. Don't make me your excuse, I said. Make me your example. He gave a wry, broken smile. Yes, ma'am. That night, their street lit up with phone flashes. Ms. Ruth sent me a shaky video of Jasmine dragging boxes across hardwood, arguing with her own echo. I watched exactly 8 seconds and turned it off. The dog barked once like a period at the end of a sentence. Morning came tasting like coffee and resolve. I dressed again like court dates and calendars were a kind of church. At 11:50, I sat in my car outside the courthouse, the building's concrete steps throwing heat. My folder on the passenger seat like a sleeping animal. 11:55. A dragonfly flickered against the windshield and zipped away. 11:57. My phone buzzed. A photo filled the screen. My one-page agreement with 2 names in blue ink, one mine, one scrawled and slanted that I recognized through anger and perfume. Under it, a single line of text. Not for you. 3 dots bubbled, stopped, bubbled again. The first payment hit my account at 6:03 a.m. $150 with a memo line that said, simply, 4-piece. I stared at the screen until the numbers steadied. Outside my window, rain ticked the balcony rail like fingernails. The apartment smelled like collard greens simmering low from last night. A fat back of smoked turkey perfuming the air. I touched my bangles, silver cool against my wrist, and let the bell of them settle my chest. Not interest. Not charity. A beginning. By 8, Marcus was at my door with a grocery bag and 2 tired smiles. One for me, one he kept folded in his pocket for later. He looked older and lighter at the same time, like a man who had finally put down a heavy box he'd been calling normal. He held up the bag. Breakfast tribute, he said. Blueberries, eggs, and the good bread. Tribute implies a king, I said, opening the door wide. We're just people who eat. The apartment is small, 1-bedroom, a sun-licked rug in the living room, a pine table that wobbles if you lean too eager, but it held him like it was sized for this morning. He set a stack of envelopes next to the stove and kissed the top of my head the way he did when he was 12 and wanted allowance. Budget, he said. Rent, utilities, groceries, medical, savings. I'm learning to put the end first. Good, I said, cracking eggs into a bowl, the shells making their tiny brittle size. Show me the inhaler copay went through. He pulled his phone, swiped. Auto-paid yesterday, he said. Before I hung a curtain. Like you said. He grinned, sheepish and proud all at once. And Jasmine? I asked, whisking. The yolks turned the kind of yellow you can taste. Rain deepened against the glass, a soft drum. He ran a hand over his face. She signed the agreement yesterday because the landlord wouldn't hand over keys without both names. She hated every letter. He exhaled. But she came to the Magnolia Place with us last night. She said the kids deserved quiet walls. He looked at me. I don't know who will be next month, but we're a roof right now. I poured eggs into a hot pan. The butter hissed and went brown at the edges, the smell nutty and sweet. Roof is a start, I said. 4 letters is plenty if they're the right ones. He laughed, a clean sound that surprised him. You always do that. What? Turn hard days into sentences that make sense. I flipped the eggs and plated them with blueberries and toast. We ate standing at the counter like people do in new kitchens and old friendships. He told me about Ava's science project. A model of the solar system made from foam balls and paint he still had under his fingernails. He told me Caleb slept with one sneaker on in case they had to escape monsters, which made us both ache and smile. He didn't tell me much about Jasmine except the facts I needed. She'd paid the health fee herself, booked 2 small orders through a shared kitchen, and sent me photos of menu tests with no captions, only check marks and X's as if we were returning to a language we might both speak, food and honesty, without money in the middle. When he left for work, he hugged me the way grown men do when they remember little boy arms. "Wednesday pancakes?" he asked. "Always," I said. Days settled into a rhythm that felt like a song we'd heard before life got loud. Wednesdays, the kids and I turned the apartment into a sticky chapel. Batter on cheeks, butter melting into bright islands, syrup threads across formica like small rivers that have lost their maps. Ava recorded me with her school tablet for a class project, Family Stories. And I told her how my mother stretched $1 into a week with flour, love, and prayer, how my late husband used to whistle off-key at the skillet and call me Chef Lorraine, like I ran a 5-star breakfast joint off our back porch. "Say the part again," she said, eyes huge, the tablet aimed at my mouth like a treasure hunter. "About keys and receipts." I smiled. "Keys and receipts," I said, letting the words round out slow. "Keep the keys to your mind. Keep receipts of your kindness." She lowered the tablet. "Can I draw that?" she asked. "You can draw anything you can hold," I told her, tapping her forehead. "And you've got plenty of hands up there." Caleb built a fort under my table with 2 blankets and a chair turned sideways, ducking in and out like a soldier in a tiny war. "This is base," he said. "Monsters can't come in Grandma's base." "Correct," I said. "Monsters can't hold their papers." He frowned. "Monsters got phones though." "You're not wrong," I said, and we both laughed, the kind that clears a room better than Lysol. On Saturdays we went to the library. The woman at the desk laminated their new cards while the smell of paper and dust and old tape made something in my chest relax. I watched Ava choose a book about galaxies and Caleb pick one about trucks, and thought how you can tell a whole life by the things a child wanders toward. I got a cookbook I didn't need just to feel the weight of options in my bag. In the quiet hours when the rain came or the cicadas sang, I cleaned the edges of things I used to ignore. I oiled the leather of my purse until it drank in the lemon and shone. I pulled the oven out and swept the gray ghosts that hide behind everything we cook. I filed the new copy of the deed inside my folder and put the folder under my bed. Not because I was hiding it, but because it was heavy and didn't need to live on the table anymore. I kept the 1-page agreement in the kitchen drawer where the scissors are. Accountability should be handy like tape. One afternoon, I did a final walkthrough of the old house with the buyer, a woman who wore her relief like perfume. The walls still had faint pencil marks where we measured heights. Ava at 5, Caleb at 3, Marcus at "Stop slouching, baby. I know you're taller than that." I touched the door frame with my fingertips and felt the ghost of laughter. "Peace isn't free," I whispered to the wood. "I paid for mine." The buyer didn't ask me what I was murmuring to a house that wasn't mine anymore. She smiled and asked where to put the welcome mat. "Anywhere you like," I said, and meant it. When I got home, an envelope waited under my door. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. Jasmine holding a sheet pan of cornbread, head tilted, expression unguarded, as if the camera had caught her in a rare moment of unworried breath. On the back, in small square letters, she had written, "Thank you for giving me room to fix it. Room isn't free, baby. But you're paying it." I didn't write back. I put the photo on my fridge with a magnet shaped like a peach, next to Ava's galaxy and Caleb's wobbly truck. I stood there and let myself miss the easy version of us that never existed, then went to stir the pot. Greens don't keep themselves from burning. The day the house closed, Sonia called with a smile in her voice. "Funds landed, Miss Parker. Straight into the trust. The numbers look right." "They look like a future," I said. "Congratulations," she said. "You did a hard thing with your eyes open." "Tell me something I don't know," I said, and we both laughed. That evening I took the grandkids to the Magnolia Place. The air smelled new but empty, that blank apartment smell like paper waiting for ink. We spread a quilt on the floor and ate grocery store rotisserie chicken with our fingers. Jasmine came late, her hair pulled back, face bare of makeup like she was giving herself a break from performing. She sat on the edge of the quilt and watched the children argue over the wishbone. When Ava won, she looked to her mother before breaking it. "What do you wish?" Jasmine asked, voice soft enough to surprise us both. Ava closed her eyes. I wish for quiet. Jasmine swallowed. Me too, she said. She didn't look at me. That was all right. Apologies don't always arrive in the voices we expect. After the kids were asleep on the pallet, Jasmine stood in the kitchen darkness and spoke without turning. I paid the permit, she said. I booked 2 orders. Not big. Enough. Enough is a pretty word, I said. It grows. I know you think she stopped. I want to run a clean kitchen. I want to be a better mother than I have been. Then want it on paper, I said gently. And on time. She nodded. I'll send the statement the first of every month. She hesitated, then added quieter. Not for you. For the kids. Then it will reach me anyway, I said, because love has a forwarding address. I walked home under a sky that had forgotten how to storm. The cicadas were loud, the kind of chorus that makes you laugh at trees because who gave them the right to be that alive at once? My bangles chimed with each step. No longer an alarm, just a song I knew. Inside, I made tea and sat on the rug with the window open, letting the night come in where it could fit. A week later, the second payment landed with the same memo line. For peace. I didn't clap, didn't cry. I sat with the number like a pebble in my hand and felt its weight. I wrote it down in my book. I wrote down the things that mattered that cost nothing the same way. Ava's laugh when the pancake flips right. Caleb's serious grandma watch about absolutely nothing. Pastor Elaine's hug strong as good rope. Ms. Ruth's fern thriving despite her fretting. The way my name looks in ink I chose. On a Sunday after service, Deacon Harold cornered me by the cookies. I hear you got yourself a retirement, he teased. I got myself a boundary, I corrected. Retirement is later. This is just grown. He chuckled. Same thing if you do it right. In the evening I opened a tiny jewelry box I'd saved for years. Inside were 2 spare library keys and a note I wrote in a looped, careful hand. Keys and receipts, it said. Keep the keys to your mind. Keep receipts of your kindness. I wrapped them and labeled the envelopes with the kids' names, because some gifts require both hands and a future. When I slid the box back into the drawer, my phone buzzed. A new message from Jasmine. A photo of a plated dish. Catfish on stone-ground grits. Lemon butter shining like a good decision. Under it 3 words, first full payment. My bangles kissed. Somewhere in the building, somebody turned up a radio and an old soul song walked the hallway like it belonged there. I leaned back against the counter, let the music find the soft places, and smiled at the thought that peace, like a recipe, gets better every time you make it. Outside, thunder mumbled polite and far away. The rain didn't start. Not yet,